y'all, it's Thomasina. Welcome back to another model vlog and happy Sunday. So today a makeup artist that I know from like a couple years ago needed a model for a beauty test today, so I volunteered because I had a free day. Today I'm bringing you guys with me to another photo shoot, so it's probably going to be a fairly quick vlog. I'm not sure how many looks we're shooting, but the mood board looks super looks super cool. It's kind of different from anything that I've done before, so I'm excited for you guys to get to see these looks. Similar to text messages, I delete threads like weekly so that I only have like maybe 5 texts in my phone at a time. And I used to do the same thing with my DMs. Like I would just delete all of my DMs so that I wouldn't have to like scroll for a long time to get to a message that I actually wanted to respond to. But I have been slacking for like the last few months. My DMs have been crazy, and there are so many people that I haven't responded to, and if you are one of the people that I haven't responded to on Instagram, I am so sorry. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, it's probably gonna be a while. Like, I don't even actively check my DMs anymore because it's just so chaotic and overwhelming now, and I just can't respond to everybody. And I don't even have that many followers, and a lot of these people that DM me are not even following me. So like, I don't know how these big people, like these big influencers, keep up with their DMs, because this is overwhelming. Before I head out, I'm gonna leave in like 20 minutes or so. I wanted to give you guys a couple of photo shoot prep tips, I guess, for those of you who are new here. So first things first, if you reach out to a new photographer and you're working with them and they send you the address, you always want to look up the address on like Google Maps or whatever map app that you use, and look at the street view so that you can determine whether it's a studio, like an actual studio in like an industrial space, or if it's a house. There are a lot of creatives in New York City who utilize the spaces that they have to kind of get a bang for their buck, if that makes sense. They utilize what they can afford. So you have these bigger photographers who usually do like studio shares and like pay their own home rent and studio rent. So they are able to afford like 2 rents, and they usually have like their own studio, or like I said, they share it with other photographers, so they split the cost of the rent, and that makes it a little bit cheaper. But if you look up the address that the photographer or makeup artist or whoever, if you look up the address that they sent you, you want to look at the street view to determine whether it is a studio, an actual studio setup, or if it is a home. So the way that you can tell if it's a studio is that it's usually going to look like kind of like a business building. It's not going to look like a brownstone. It's not going to look like an apartment building. Like, you can usually tell from the outside that it's usually in like a more industrial space, and that it's like a building, not necessarily a storefront, but it's like a business building, if that makes sense. You can definitely tell the difference versus someone shooting at an apartment complex. Like, it's either going to be like a brownstone or like a brick apartment building, or if you look at the street, like, you can tell it's a residential area, so that means the building will likely be like an apartment building. And so just by looking at the street view, you'll be able to determine like what kind of environment are you shooting in. And there are some people who actually rent out apartment units for studio space because it's cheaper than renting out a room in like an industrial building, and that's okay too. Like, I work with a photographer, worked with him so many times. He shoots in an apartment space. It's not his apartment, but renting that apartment and using it as studio space is cheaper than renting an actual studio space in a like photographer's building, if that makes sense. I hope this is making sense to you guys. But basically, the basis of my tip is to make sure you know what environment you're shooting in. Second tip, if it is a photographer that you've never worked with, a team that you've never worked with, a makeup artist that you've never worked with, I would shy away from shooting at their personal apartment. You've never met this person, like, you're shooting with them for the first time, and if you're shooting in their apartment, like their living space, like they actually live there, they're not renting it out as a separate studio, they actually live there, it may make you a bit uncomfortable. You are in a new environment that could potentially be unsafe. You're with a new team, a new person, a new photographer, so you're probably going to be a little bit uncomfortable. And even if it does turn out to be a safe space and the photographer is legit, because you're so uncomfortable, the photos aren't even going to be as good as they could be if you were relaxed and comfortable and in a, I guess, like professional environment. Now, granted, living in New York City a lot of photographers shoot in their personal apartments, so it's good to have already met them or know other models that have worked with them or know other makeup artists that have worked with them and can vouch for their credibility and professionalism of the space. So in my case today, I've never worked with this photographer before, but I've known the makeup artist for a while. I've worked with her before and I trust her judgment, and she's also worked with this photographer quite often. So I am going to someone's apartment for the first time, which normally I would advise against, but because I know the makeup artist and trust her, I'm okay and comfortable with going to this apartment for the first time. You just have to use your best judgment on whether or not you feel comfortable enough going. So, of course, typical Thomasina fashion, I ended up getting on the wrong L train. Didn't realize it until I was like 3 stops in already. So I just got off and I'm gonna walk the rest of the way. It's only like a 17-minute walk. So I texted the makeup artist like, hey, I'm running a little bit late, which is annoying because I literally left early for this reason. Okay, face still beat. I'm finally back in my apartment. The photo shoot went well. It was, we only did 2 looks today. Very interesting, very out of the ordinary. Not really anything that I particularly need for my portfolio, but I figured I didn't have any plans today and she needed a model at the last minute, so I was like, why the heck not? You really do have to pick and choose like where you put your time into when it comes to developing your portfolio. And I personally have been more selective when it comes to the kinds of shoots that I'm doing. This one was like completely left field, like not something that I would normally say yes to, but I wanted to film some content for you guys, and so I was like, yeah, why the heck not? So it went pretty well, but after the photo shoot, I went to Williamsburg to try a Tres Leches donut. It was good, right? But I wouldn't buy it again. It was good, but I wouldn't buy it again. It tasted pretty similar to like a regular donut, wasn't very milky at all. And then I tried Joe's Pizza for the first time. Personally, I feel like it's overhyped. It was good, but I've definitely had better pizza spots in the city. Like, I feel like I've even gone to like dollar pizza spots that have tasted better. But again, not knocking it, I just think it's slightly overhyped. My personal opinion. Still delicious, just overhyped. I am actually doing a podcast, you guys. This is gonna be my first time being a guest on a podcast. If you guys don't know, my sister and I started our own podcast back in 2019 called Pretty Opinionated Podcast. We haven't filmed an episode in like 2 years, which is unfortunate. Eventually I'm gonna bring it back, but this will be my first time being a guest on a podcast. So this girl and I met in New York. We met at New York Fashion Week last year, I think. It was either 2021 or 2020. I'm thinking it was 2021. We walked the same show and connected on Instagram, and we've kind of been in touch ever since. And she reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and asked if I wanted to be on her podcast, the Model Student Podcast, where she basically interviews other models in the industry. A lot of them are modeling and simultaneously in school, and so she asked me to speak on her podcast today. So I'm excited about that, and I'll give you guys a little behind the scenes sneak peek. I won't film the whole episode because I want you guys to be able to go check it out on her podcast page, Spotify, link, what have you. You can catch the full episode there, but I will give you guys like a sneak preview of how the episode goes.
It's so good to see you. I know I've only seen you like once.
Yeah.
You have such a great, captivating essence. So welcome.
That's the beauty of social media, right? Hello, listeners of the Model Student Podcast. My name is Thomasina. Alex and I met during Fashion Week. Was that 2021 or 2020?
Yeah, last year.
Wow, 2021, time flies. But I'm based in Brooklyn, New York. Outside of modeling, I also host a YouTube channel. It's just the same as my Instagram, Thomasina Myresa, which basically showcases my lifestyle in New York and gives people tips on how to become models and tips on how to move to New York City, because that seems to be a lot of people's dreams, that sometimes fear prohibits them from doing that. So I just try to provide any guidance that I can on my YouTube channel. People really be gassing me up. Like, I know I'm pretty great, like I'm a pretty great human being in general, but I just feel like other people like take that and times it by like 1,000. Like, people just think I am this amazing person, which I am, but like on such a greater scale. Like, I don't know if I'm making any sense, but like people just think so highly of me, and like I appreciate it, but it's also like a lot of pressure. Like, if I feel like I have big shoes to fill and they're my own shoes. I am a human just like everybody else. I struggle just like everybody else. Like, I have my bad days just like everybody else. I say that just because like Alexandra just made me feel so good throughout the podcast. Like, I think she really like gassed my head. You guys will be able to hear the full episode. I think she said it's gonna come out in like August or September. But be sure to listen to Model Student Podcasts on Spotify and Apple Music and everywhere else that you listen to your podcast. I think you guys will get a lot of insight in this episode. But yeah, I am pretty much done for the day. I've cleaned up my apartment. I'm about to go do some laundry, and then I have 2 videos that I need to edit and push out tonight. So that's what I'm gonna do. It's a chill Sunday night. I'm feeling good, feeling great. Hope you guys are feeling better. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. I feel like it was a pretty quick one because we only did 2 looks for the photo shoot today. But regardless, thank you guys for watching as always, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye! 'Cause I'm not just a pretty girl.